So thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this episode is we're calling it the 70 years as we approach
Yep.
it in April. That date that's certainly embedded in my mind and many people's minds. If you do Taekwondo, and obviously this year it'll be 70 years. Yes, sir. And when I was just checking my notes, funny enough, some of your milestones fitted quite nicely there. I saw you. We spoke before, but I've seen once again that you started in 1975, so that's 50 years.
Right.
And then your date for teaching was 1985. The sums are really easy for me.
Yeah, they've worked out quite well.
And finally, TKD coaching 2015.
Yep. So that's coming up 10 years next month.
10 years, wow. Yeah, so
Yeah.
quite a few milestones there, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Time flies.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and I was looking at my notes also, and obviously the ITF itself will have its 59 years this year. So, and 60 next year.
Okay.
So you would have started when the ITF was very young. Did it seem like that? Did it seem like something new, or?
I think it did actually, because I remember very clearly when World Taekwondo arrived in New Zealand,
Okay, yeah,
and and we saw them as like invaders. What are you doing here? The different patterns and different movements, and it just didn't seem right. So it seemed like we were in on the ground level doing this new art. And from New Zealand, it came from Malaysia. So it was um, that kind of style of very hard and fast
yeah,
and so on. So um, my instructor at the time, I guess, was in his 30s. He seemed old to me at the time because I was 13. But and when you think about it, when Taekwondo was named, General Che was only in his 30s. He's a young man, which
yeah, yeah,
blows your mind when you think about it, really.
absolutely, yeah,
So everyone was young. Um, yeah, I came through my Taekwondo career always being a young black belt,
yeah,
young instructor, young examiner, yeah, young, and then eventually you end up older, and everyone else looks younger. So it's kind of weird, but
yeah,
yeah, to answer your question, Taekwondo seemed like a new exciting martial art from my feel of it. WT arrived, and we thought, well, what's going on here? There's obviously something happening on the world stage. So yeah, it was kind of good to be around at that time when all that was happening. It's yeah, quite an honor to have seen some of that stuff.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when I think back to my starting very early in the 90s, Taekwondo wasn't that well known then, certainly in my area of England. A few people knew what I meant, but most people didn't know when I said, "Oh, I'm doing Taekwondo classes." Oh, what's that?
Really, in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah, I think so because we saw the advert and we went because we thought it was something different. But nevertheless, Taekwondo in the present day is widely known. Everyone knows Taekwondo.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know the name Taekwondo straight away because I thought I was doing karate.
Right.
And on our club notice board it said Korean Taekwondo, Korean karate. I knew the name Taekwondo from the movie When Taekwondo Strikes, because
Yeah.
that hit the movie theaters in the mid 70s. So I knew it was a martial art, kind of, but I didn't realize for a little while that that was what I was learning,
Well,
which is kind of interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, I think my instructor may have even called it Korean karate back in the day, just to be able to communicate something that people knew what he was talking about.
Yeah. 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 You hear it sometimes still, don't you? The karate word is certain areas, maybe America more, still used
Yeah,
as a general term for what people do
yeah.
in Taekwondo. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, sir. So obviously, we're now over 20 years without General Che. But you knew him fairly well, didn't you? Or very well to some degree. Many people listening or doing Taekwondo nowadays, they could have been doing it for quite some time, but they would have never have met him or heard first-hand accounts. I know we spoke last time, but are there any other memories, or even if we revisit them, of your time with General Che?
Yeah, I think the thing I would say about General Che, looking back on it, is that people sort of look up to him as almost like a godlike figure, but he was just a person. He
Yeah,
had good and bad parts of his personality for sure. As many people know, sometimes he could be very rude in seminars and be discourteous to the point where he would be insulting to people. And he probably got away with that because he was the general,
yeah,
and he was used to being a general, and that's just sort of a negative part of his personality. Um, and he could often sort of talk down to you, even in private sometimes. Like I remember one time at a meal turning to me and saying, "You have," I don't know if he said me, but I think he was talking about non-Asian people. European people have no morality at all, nothing. You have no morality. Only in Asian culture we know about moral culture. Sort of, and it'd say sort of things like that to you. And think, my gosh, like so on the negative, and then on that side, he was a normal person with faults, many faults, and sometimes political faults. Like he would sometimes appoint people to positions that he shouldn't have because maybe they had the bigger numbers in the organization and stuff. So
sure.
things like that people probably never aware of that he did.
Yeah,
But on the plus side, I think he was a genius really, because well, he must have been close to a genius because his workload, his books, his writing, his artistic side, everything, his whole personality and what he did in his lifetime. Like I said before, in his 30s, naming Taekwondo and getting it launched around, just incredible, And his mind and his knowledge and his memory was amazing. He really did know the encyclopedia inside out, and that shocked me actually, because when I first got to talk to him, got to know him, I thought, yeah, maybe he wrote the book. Maybe some people helped him. I wonder how much of it he really remembers or knows or wrote.
yeah,
But he knew it inside out. And you could ask him a question and he would almost quote you word for word of what written
yeah,
in the book. But it's an incredible knowledge, an incredible mind. And he was an amazing leader. He had indomitable spirit, definitely, and courage. He could stick up for himself right from when he was young. When you read in his autobiography what he went through as a younger person. So these two sides to him, and I would often be shocked by both sides. Like he could be very rude one minute and then amazing the next minute. So
yeah,
yeah, but the legend of General Che is that he's perfect, and he created this perfect martial art, and how dare we question anything that he said, which
yeah,
is ridiculous. He was incredible person, but
yeah.
his faults just like all of us.
Very human. Yeah, very with all the characteristics of everyone. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, I remember one time I was at a seminar, unfortunately, and he got he had handkerchiefs that he put on the floor at certain positions
yeah,
for numbers of moves on patterns, and that was the time when I saw the detail and the knowledge. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. He used to use his hankies. Yeah.
yeah, because he would say that this move is so and so, and we were racking our brains to think which part are we working on now.
Mm, yeah.
Yes, sir. So obviously now we're 20 years or so without General Che, and Taekwondo is flourishing in its form. How do we see that? A lot of young people now doing Taekwondo. It's a lot of advancement. obviously not necessarily under one leadership.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? The whole split of the different organizations. That's the disappointing thing about the whole martial art. Although I remember very clearly thinking back when we were one ITF that there were plenty of groups that were not with the ITF that
Sure.
practiced ITF, um, in the UK, I think there were, big organizations that were not ITF. So in a way, it's a little misleading to say, oh, we used to be all one and now we're split, because it was always split.
Yeah.
And every martial art has the same thing because of the personalities of the hierarchy. You're always going to have splits in different groups, but it's more probably worse now. You've got the big organizations that are all doing their own thing, unfortunately.
Sure.
Um, whether we can do anything about it, I don't know. The trouble is that the splits that you've got with the different organizations is not just a worldwide thing, it's in every country, right? So in every country, you've got 3 or 4 or 5 different ITFs with their own president and their own grandmasters and senior this and senior that, doing their own thing. Can you imagine trying to get all those people together? And, the only way you could probably do it is by some kind of umbrella group where everyone agrees on a world champs or a national team or something. That would be cool and definitely worth pursuing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually getting them all together into one group once you've split in every country. I don't like to say impossible, but probably impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, and you highlight one thing there that obviously we're talking about the 11th of April being the naming of Taekwondo officially recognised. That does encompass ITF Taekwondo, but obviously there's groups outside of ITF that maybe were at one time, but they still exist in their own form.
Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it, the way the techniques look deviate and over time, and you can look at one ITF group and say, what the heck is that? And that happens slowly. Like I remember doing patterns super fast and hard, and like you see some videos that you see people in competitions that our ITFs would kind of laugh at now, but we were doing that back then.
Yeah.
Things slowly change as General Che would do seminars. You'd learn to slow down and be more technically correct and follow the heights and the positions of the movements, and over the years we would gradually change. So it's all very well to mock some things you see on YouTube and say, look how silly that looks, but we've all evolved and come from different places,
Yeah.
and who's to say what they're doing is wrong? It's just different. So yeah, now you've got ITF Taekwondo meaning many different things, many groups doing different things around the world. But the important thing is, I think, the quality of the leadership and the instructors and the role models that they are following the tenets and providing good training for the students and being honest about what they're teaching and not pretending to teach something that they're not, like some of the self-defense side of things. I really disagree with a lot of what I see on YouTube with people claiming to be doing self-defense things that just simply wouldn't work or be ridiculous in a real situation.
Yeah.
So I can't remember your question, but
No, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, yeah. Taekwondo comes in various forms. The ITF has a particular model, by General Che, but there are people that have existed outside of that with Korean grandmasters as well, and everyone is doing Taekwondo, which is, well, I guess, what we're all celebrating.
yeah, I think you've got to be accepting of that. It's a funny thing, in ITF Taekwondo, we seem to be, whatever group you're in, we seem to be very like, we're the real one,
Yeah,
and you sort of very anti the other group. But then you look at another martial art like Aikido and karate, you think, oh, that's cool. What they're doing is, and we've got no animosity towards them at all.
Yeah,
But the other ITF group who are doing more or less the same, we're against them. It's
yeah,
ridiculous, really. And again, like I said, it comes down to personalities and yeah,
yeah,
power, and in the end, these groups are separated by those human traits that are unfortunately the downfall of the whole thing.
yeah, absolutely. So, from the early beginnings of Taekwondo, the techniques have changed somewhat across all of Taekwondo, maybe more so on ITF because of General Che's teaching. And we see some, now he's not here, we have to decide what the movements are, don't we, and how to form them.
Yeah.
How's that gone? Do you see that being progressive and
Yeah, and in the organization I'm with, I'm a part of the technical committee, and our role is to try and preserve exactly as much as possible is what General Che taught and what he wrote.
yeah,
And that sounds simple enough, but it's actually very, very difficult because there are some things that are ambiguous. There are some things that are written two or three different ways in different books. And then, of course, you get the many, many videos of General Che teaching things differently, which he did all the time. So anytime I see someone saying, look, this is General Che doing this in a video, you can find three different ways that he taught different times because he changed and developed over time.
yeah,
And there's no doubt about that. He would almost use IICs as sounding boards for technical things, and he would go back and change and develop the techniques on the fly over the years. He definitely did that. Like as the way I'm talking about the way might do a technique.
yeah,
So you can't rely on videos of General Che to settle an argument. So what we decided several years ago, like 10 years ago or something, was to use his latest encyclopedia as the guide, the 99 encyclopedia. And if it's not the photos in it, but the words in it, if it's written,
yeah,
then we go by that. And then we have a little flow chart we use. So um, if it's written, if a technical thing is written differently in the 15 volume for encyclopedia, then we go by the condensed because we have to go by something.
yeah,
And then we have a way of working through how we're going to decide what we're going to settle on. And we have quite a nice process in our technical meetings where we'll discuss things which normally come from the membership. People ask questions and we have to like, okay, well, what are we going to decide on here? For example, some things are not written at all. Like some
yeah,
distances, like for a heaven hand or something, there's no measurement given in an encyclopedia, but it would be nice to standardize it. So
yeah,
so we sometimes have to decide things like that.
yeah,
So what we normally do is we discuss it at a meeting and it's written. We have notes that we write, and that gets written. Any new topic gets written in a different color in our notes. We go away and do our own research for a year, which involves talking to anyone we can that we think is knowledgeable or discussing it with our own instructors and so on. And then we come back at the next meeting and we discuss it again. If we all agree on the technical committee, then the color changes to back to black, and that's what we settle on. So we never teach anything in an IIC that hasn't been through that process of discussion, deliberation,
yeah,
experimentation, and then we settle on something. So we never just decide, oh yeah, let's make it 30 centimeters. That sounds good, and go and teach it.
yeah,
Yeah, you're talking years to come up with something like that. So that's what we do in our technical committee. And most of the time it's trying to settle on things that aren't written to try and clarify what we can teach. Or when things contradict, we try and decide, oh, which way are we going to do something? And there are lots and lots of those things, and they keep us busy. We normally have about 3 days each year that we all get together in technical committee, and we try and work through our list. We never get to the end of the list actually, but yeah, and that keeps us very busy.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that an enjoyable process for you all, or is it kind
Oh
of?
yeah, we all love it,
Yeah,
and it gets a little crazy sometimes because the different personalities in the technical committee. Um, I tend to be the argumentative one who will come back with the ridiculous arguments year after year, and Grandmaster Morano just gets fed up with me. Um, yeah, different personalities will sometimes be not heated arguments or anything, but it gets quite fiery because we're all passionate about what we think.
yeah, yeah,
A lot of the time, we remember how we were taught something, right? Or how General Che taught us, and we want to hold on to that. And sometimes it's quite hard to let that go. It
yeah,
really is. And I know everyone's the same, right? My instructor taught me, and my instructor knew master somebody who taught him. So it's very difficult to change when you've got that experience. So we all battle with that in the technical middle. We all have to be humbled and try and figure out the best way forward
yeah,
techniques wise. But our goal is never to change anything, and we want to follow General Che's teachings and encyclopedia. And why would we want to change something? Because it's so disturbing to do that for people, you know. But sometimes hard decisions have to be made because it's not clear. We have to, that's our job to decide because competitors want to know, umpires want to know, instructors want to know what the correct way is.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there was a time when things were felt like they were constantly changing. Certainly, where I was training to colour belt, and our instructor went to General Che seminar, came back and said, "Oh, we've got all these things to do," and that was
Yeah.
some period of time that we experienced that. So,
Yeah, the biggest time I remember was 1984 for me was the biggest change because we were training under Master Young Koo Yun in Australia. He was one of the original or second tier masters of the ITF. So we were doing sort of old school training. And then we went to a seminar in Brisbane with Grandmaster Park Jung Tae. And that was when we learned sine wave. It's when we learned to yell the name of the pattern at the end. It's
right,
when we were breathing out on the movements where we never did that before. So massive changes.
yeah,
So we had to come home and start teaching these radically different things. So that was a very big change. So if you had started Taekwondo in the 80s, then yeah, you were in for some big changes.
yeah,
In the 90s, don't complain because all your sine wave would have been there, your breathing would have been there, that
yeah,
all those big changes had already happened. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. We, yeah. So, and if you went to a General Che seminar, you were going to pick things up there as well, weren't you? To some degree, but obviously now it's past it. That's come over to other seniors like yourself, and you have your meetings and decide. It sounds quite extensive. It's not something you just pull out of the air or remember
Yeah.
something from the past. It's proper. Yeah,
Yeah, we try to be as methodical and scientific about it and document everything, and we're careful as we can about it because we know that how important it is.
yeah. And didn't General Che ever say that he expected the martial art to move on scientifically with better research? And did he ever say
Yeah,
that?
well, he always used to say, when I'm gone, you have to move it forward.
Yeah,
That's for you guys when
yeah,
I'm gone. For
yeah,
now, you do what I say, but when I'm gone, it's up to you. He'd say that all the time.
yeah,
So don't exactly know what he meant. Um, in our technical committee, preserving the 24 patterns is the main thing that we consider our mission. We don't want to change what he taught at all if we can help it. Um, but yeah, especially things like sparring, he was really keen to see that be developed. Like he went to different countries and asked certain people to prepare some free sparring that was more like what he wanted, which
Yeah.
we didn't exactly know what he wanted, but and the next time he would visit, he would say, right, show me what you've been working on. So he would give people little projects like that. So he obviously wasn't happy with free sparring, I would say, and he would like to see that
Yeah.
develop more. Yeah. But as to what he wants us to do now and into the future, yeah, I mean, he was always a science-based person, wasn't he? He was always trying to back up what he taught by science. So continuing with that is a good idea, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would like to see the self-defense side of it developed more. That still seems like it needs a lot of work. Because for me, self-defense is figuring out what you would really do in a real situation, from de-escalation and avoidance through to, you know,
Yeah.
passively defending yourself, right through to being full-on aggressively defending yourself. And we don't really train that really, unless you're lucky to be in a good school that knows what they're talking about. But just to learn physical techniques and silly knife defense and stuff like that is just, it's just dishonest, and teaching things that don't work is dishonest. But a lot of instructors don't even know that techniques don't work because they've never been in a real situation. They don't realize how fast you have to react if someone really wants to smack you in the face.
Yeah. No,
It's a
absolutely.
different world altogether. So I think self-defense needs a lot of work to bring it into
Yeah.
a more of a realistic light.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think all the rest of the art for me, the patterns and the yeah, all the competitive events and all that are pretty well developed, and they're
Yeah.
pretty good. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a lot for athletes to do, and it's a nice art. It looks amazing as a martial art. I think it's really a cool martial art with the backing of the theory and the history and all that. It's fantastic. Yeah, self-defense needs some work. Sparring probably needs some work, but it's an ongoing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And obviously, its roots are in Korea, so that's a significant part of the martial art.
Yeah,
Would you say? Yeah.
yeah. That's a
The
nice.
terminology.
Yeah, I love that side of it. You know, some people just see it as a grading requirement that they dislike because they have to learn some theory, but you got to look a bit deeper than that and try and appreciate where the arts come from and what it's all about,
Yeah.
without overloading the students, because we don't want to put them off by giving them too much, theory as they're coming through. That's
Yeah.
always a bit of a balancing act.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. And so time has gone by. Taekwondo has changed lives. Our students' lives have changed. We become instructors. It's been a very big positive movement within the world for everyone that's got involved in it. Would you agree there, Sue? You've had many students come through.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing when you look back on it. We have I know in my country we've got so many loyal instructors and people and members of that, even of my club,
Yeah.
that have been, it goes way beyond just learning a martial art, doesn't it? It's the whole social side of it, and incredible when you look back on it. Something we have to think about is succession planning, though, which I've been thinking about more lately, is trying to make sure our clubs do carry on and not just fold when you decide to retire. That's really important.
Yeah.
So we need ways of bringing people through from quite an early stage, actually, like with leadership teams and so on, where people
Yeah.
are learning how to teach and taking on responsibilities. Because we don't know what's going to be happening in 50 years or even 20 years with
Yeah,
Taekwondo.
yeah,
We don't really know, right? So it's up to us to try and plan for that as best we can and
yeah,
see, keep our clubs continuing on and into the future.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely, sir. And obviously, with the changes, the innovation, even technology, that gives students much more than many people had when they first started. But we'd all like to keep it general chase, taekwondo, ITF, the principles of the patterns and the tenets and the student oath. So we'd need to educate our, like you said, people that are going to take over our classes eventually.
Yeah, it's challenging because with all the different martial arts and, like you say, the videos and MMA and everything that's around, there's a lot of competition for us. So we're a traditional martial art and not that easy to keep people interested in that,
Yeah, yeah,
like we like we are. And anyone that started Taekwondo in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we've got that passion because it was kind of mystical and exciting.
yeah,
I think kids these days, there's so much else exciting to look on their screens. It's probably not that amazing to them what we do. So
yeah, yeah,
our challenge is to try and inspire the younger ones, and I guess as being good role models as people and trying to bring that moral
yeah,
character through is an important part of it to try and keep them interested in Taekwondo.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, because it's still that the honor and, like you said, the respect and everything. Because the way of some other sports, a lot of sports now, it's you see a lot of bad behaviour, don't you? You see sportsmanship and so on, and just the way they kind of promote themselves. It's kind of quite far away from all of what we're used to.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the more the younger ones see that, that becomes their normal and they don't know any different. So part of our role is to try and teach that sort of good behavior, a good moral outlook as much as we can by leading by example, really.
Yeah.
But
Well,
even some of our tournaments, they can get pretty rough,
yeah, yeah.
especially in some countries.
Right,
Some
right.
countries where the audience is throwing things into the ring, and you think, my gosh, is this the martial art of Taekwondo I remember? So we've got to be careful.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe it will always appeal to some people because of that. Maybe there'll always be a contrast to the other side of it. I hope anyway. Yes, sir. So if we look into the future, like you said, next 10 years, the younger generation will be taking over, making choices and decisions. Maybe there's a way back for Taekwondo, the ITF to be one, possibly.
Yeah, like I said before, as an umbrella organization would be the only way to do it. I think like some new thing that gets called something other than ITF. We've
Yeah,
got
yeah,
too many
sure.
of that name around, where everyone comes together under a
Yeah,
yeah. It's funny because you sort of get the feeling that the problem is the hierarchy, right? The few people in each organization who have been there forever and they never want to give up their power. We sort of want the newer generation to step up and say, come on, let's forget all this and get together.
yeah,
Takes a long time for that to happen. And when by the time that time comes around, maybe that second generation, and then they've got all the power and they don't want to give it up. So I don't know.
yeah,
You'd have to look at other sports and other martial arts, probably see how they battle with it and what the solutions might be.
yeah,
But there has to be some kind of will to make that even want to happen.
yeah,
In most countries, people are probably happy enough with doing their own thing with the people that they enjoy being with. Why do they want the hassle of getting together with some other groups that people they don't get on with anymore?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm afraid it's a little bit of a tricky one. Um, yeah, I just sort of try and concentrate on doing the best job I can with
Yeah.
the group that I'm with, and I don't sort of try and get too much involved with the politics side of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. When Taekwondo was beginning, I guess the average student would have been 18 to 20 through 23 in the military, training day after day. Nowadays, we see students as young as 4 years old, and we have seniors coming in the 40s, 50s, 60s. So that's a big change, isn't it, for people to expand it to so many age groups.
Yeah.
Do you see that in your own groups as well? And
Yep. I don't see it as a bad thing, really. Is it the Americanization of martial arts? Like, didn't they come up with the idea of children's
sure,
classes and things like that as
preschool,
business
yeah,
model? Yeah, it's probably what it is or where it came from. But um, I think as long as you separate things out and you're clear as to what you're teaching and what the goal is of the different classes, and that can actually be a good business model to be able to
yeah,
make a living from doing what you love. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. But yeah, certainly it's changed. Um, but yeah, I get requests all the time for 2-year-olds to join, which is ridiculous. But yeah, as long as your different classes are very clear about what you're aiming to teach, what's going on, then you can still have your adults class as a serious, fit for purpose martial arts
yeah,
class. That's what you've got to do, and just separate everything out. Um,
yeah,
yeah, sometimes I see again videos of classes online where you got little wee toddlers running around with masters in a class training together. I just don't get that. You have to have separate things to separate as much as you can
yeah,
uh, to be able to achieve what you need to do.
yeah,
I mean, I love having families training together. Don't get me wrong. I have a family class, and you've got kids and adults together, but then we have the senior ranks breaking off for their own class. So that you got that separation, which
yeah,
is what we need. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't mind kids and kids classes. It's very different from, well, it's actually when I started was when it started probably in the Bruce Lee era. We had all these kids join in mass.
yeah,
So not younger than teenagers though. It was just like my age, 13, 14, 15, what we all joined at the same time.
yeah,
And I think that happened all around the world, I think. And then later the little kids happened. Um, yeah. So I think I started teaching a kids class in 1978 for my instructor, and we had his children and some other kids training. So yeah, late 70s was probably when children's classes were starting, would be my guess.
yeah,
Um, and now there are classes for preschoolers, like Taekwondo Cubs and Tigers and all the different things. Which are great as long as they're separate and as long as it's clear as what the goals and what we're trying to achieve, and the kids are having fun.
yeah.
That's all.
I think that's the key to it, isn't it? Like you said, the separate classes for the different age groups, the different goals. And when you come up to your competitors or people that like to do that, maybe they're even separate from the main group because of your main group might have your 40s and 50s and 60s in there.
Well,
Yeah, excellent, sir. So coming back to technology and like you say, there was one book, wasn't there, the Taekwondo manual. If you knew someone that had it, you asked them to bring it in and everyone would surround them in the dojang looking at it and then hope someone else got one time when they came around again.
yeah,
But there's lots of things to look at, and obviously TKD coaching is very much at the forefront of that for people to get, to watch training and enjoy seeing the teaching and all the bits that go with it as well.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder at the moment because with after after COVID and no one was traveling, it made it hard to video classes of
Of
things
course.
around the
Yeah,
world.
yeah,
So I had to rely on more local stuff. But um, still, there's plenty of content that people are interested in. And in TKD coaching, we have a very, very loyal base of people like yourself
yeah,
who've been members for years, some coming up 10 years, who really enjoy watching what other instructors are doing and learning and
yeah.
trying to get motivated by seeing that stuff. So yeah, that's coming up 10 years. So I have to think of something cool to do for the 10-year anniversary. And then yeah, just
Yeah, it's
carry
really,
on. As long as I'm enjoying it, I'll carry on doing that.
yeah, absolutely. There's so much on there, isn't there? And you can pick up on any aspects that you want to, and it's always there to refer back to. I certainly really enjoy it, and like you said, I've been a member for some time now.
Yep.
One particular bit I really enjoy is when you're doing the fourth degree Mung Mu with Mr. Trotter, is it? Yeah, the two of you doing that.
Okay.
What was that
Why
like?
did you enjoy that?
Sorry.
Why did you enjoy that one?
Well, first of all, it's lots of detail, and to see that, was he your student from the beginning,
No,
or?
no,
Oh, right.
no. He was in Auckland, like so I graded him. I was his examiner coming through, and I was his first coach, I think, in a New Zealand team, stuff like that. So we've had a lot to do with each other. These days we just do a bit of training together and just talk and hang out a little bit. So um and he's always been really supportive of TKD coaching, which has been fantastic because he's a big draw card for TKD coaching because yeah, he's so well known around the world. So
Yeah, yeah,
when we did that, there are a couple of videos we did together on the floor like that. Um, yeah, quite challenging. Um, and there are a few mistakes in it, I must admit, but doesn't matter. Everyone makes some mistakes, but
yeah,
yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that. They're
yeah,
fun
yeah.
to do.
There's a nice contrast between obviously, as I experienced myself, the younger student, as it were, with the older master, the contrast, but the knowledge and it's just the way we all like to do it, I guess. And I always admire your twisting kick as well. So
Thank you. Used to be pretty good.
yeah, no, it's brilliant, excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time and fitting this in.
Nice to see you.
You too, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Welcome.